Oh.
Just go, you can
And
mark
then they
him
try
right
to
on.
wash him off and they get all sticky. Diane, can you move him on the floor? He's falling.
Sure went fast, didn't he?
He's tired.
The
So,
blanket
back to
ribbon.
that house that you lived in that you remember.
All right.
There's two houses you remember that are still standing that are basically the same.
Yeah.
Were they brick? What
No,
did they
they're
look like?
wood
They're all wood.
houses. Yeah.
How many bedrooms?
Watch that drink.
Well, the last one, I'm not sure how many we had. We had, I think we had 3 bedrooms upstairs. Downstairs, I don't remember too much about it. I remember the living room once. One other memory I have is when we went, when Christmas Eve, we went well, gotta get another story, just like Mom. We went out to the city park because what I used to call my Aunt Mady, it was really a cousin of my dad's. She and her husband ran what they call a pavilion out in the park. They lived there and they had a soda fountain and they had a dance hall. And Mom and Dad went out and worked for dances, and I used to go out as a kid and just hang around, and I can remember the 6-piece band playing the old time big band music. And they had the ball in the middle with the lights flying on it, which is the latest thing around here now.
Yeah.
And they had that, and I used to stand in the doorway and watch the dancers and all that stuff going on. But anyway, we were out there apparently at Christmas Eve, and when I came home, I remember that Santa Claus had been there, and all this stuff around the tree, and in the living room of that house we were just describing. That's the only thing I can remember about the living room at all. I remember about the basement. There was a basement downstairs, and that's where Dad made home brew beer. I remember he had a capping machine, just a little lever thing that pushed the cap on top of the bottle, and I used to do that. And then there was a little house next door to us where there was twin girls, a little older than I was, I guess, and we used to play with them all the time, and we'd string up the old tin cans with a long string between them, and talk between the houses. Big deal.
2-story houses?
No, theirs was only 1 story. Ours was 2-story.
So would you say, were you middle class, lower class, upper middle class? That's interesting.
Well, I guess you'd call us lower middle class, I guess. Only because, everybody was pretty much the same around there, actually. Dad didn't have a professional job or anything, When he finally couldn't hang on to the ice business anymore, he wound up anyway in the laundry business. He worked in a commercial laundry. And in fact, I recently got his Social Security records, where he first signed up for Social Security, and I vaguely remember that he had lived and we still lived in Iowa City, but he had a job in Cedar Rapids, which is about 25 miles away. And I think he worked there during the week and came back on weekends or something for a certain period of time. And anyway, that's apparently where he got his Social Security card. But he worked laundries most of the time. Yes, ma'am.
Tell them about one during the war, how he worked with the prisoners of war, the German prisoners of war.
Oh, yeah.
And they made things for him and stuff.
That's how that was a little later, yeah. And I think it was after Pearl Harbor, as I remembered. It was after Pearl Harbor, 1942. He was always trying to get ahead. Dad was a hard worker and always wanted to move up. And so he had a chance to manage a laundry for the Rock Island Railroad in Rock Island, Illinois, where Si lives now. And so we moved up there. And for some reason, that job only lasted about a year or 2. I went to 1 year of junior high school up there. And then he got the job in Rockford in a Camp Grant, they called it. It was Army camp. And it was an Army laundry. And the work people in the laundry were German prisoners of war. And so that's what he was talking about. He got real friendly with them, and he was always talking about them, and they liked him, and so forth. And they made a lot of things for him. In fact, I still got a suitcase out there in the garage that was made out of plywood, really well done, and it's lasted all these years. They made it and gave it to him because they had nothing else to do, but make things, do something, just keep busy.
So it was there on the premises of the camp?
Of the camp,
the laundry was?
yeah.
Hmm.
I didn't really realize, it's looking back on it, that there was any, you wouldn't expect any German prisoners of war to be in this country.
Yeah.
But there were, at least they were there.
Hmm.
It was not a big deal. In fact, you know, no, at least Dad didn't consider any of them his enemies.
Yeah.
Dad's best friend when he was in Rockford, where we lived there, um, Lieutenant Doherty was his name. He was an Army lieutenant, not German, but American. But he was a lot younger. Looking back on it, he was 15 years younger probably than Dad. But they used to come over and drink beer together and go fishing together and all that stuff.
So your dad was never in the military?
No, told me one time he was lucky and I was lucky. He and I both were too young for one war and too old for the next one.
Hmm.
And so neither one of us was.
And Jerry too.
And Jerry too. Yeah.
But you were
I was in ROTC at
ROTC.
college, and I had a commission. When I graduated, they gave you a commission as second lieutenant in the Army Reserve. And I got out in 1950, and that's just the time when the Korean War broke out.
Mm.
So when I went to work in Rochester, New York for Eastman Kodak, I had to join a local unit there, which I did, and fully expecting that we'd get called up, And for some reason, they were calling people up individually. And they would call people up. I'd never call my name for some reason. I don't know why. And I was tired of my job, but I says I might as well don't want to leave it. They're going to call me up anyway. Never did, so I finally took a job out here in California, and they never did call me.
probably because your name was Hotz German and they didn't want a German spy in the army.
Yeah, this was the Korean War. We were fighting Koreans.
Shut up.
Wrong,
Not that far
wrong
yet.
war.
Wrong war.
See, how do we get into all that? Oh,
Yeah,
that's what you asked me what class mine.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. We never we were never rich. I never had a lot of things, but we certainly were better off than Mom's family.
We were
Pretty much
the
everything.
lowest rung of the ladder.
We had
below the lowest.
indoor plumbing and everything, all those fancy things. You know?
We did in some places.
Do you remember
Later on.
coming home from school and your mom being there and what you would do? I mean, do you remember what her life was like, or do you remember? Did she cook any meal? She obviously cooked meals for you guys? Did she have any? Do you remember any meals she would cook?
You'd be surprised that I can't remember anything like that. It's kind of I look back and I says, how did my folks raise me? I don't really know. It just sort of happened automatically.
Yeah.
Remember the pasta that your mom made?
No,
Pretty fun.
noodles.
Noodles.
Well, she taught me how to make noodles. I still try to make them.
She must have made that one.
Oh yeah, she was a cook, like especially the farm women in those days. All the women were. But I don't specifically remember sitting down to a meal there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember any arguments, any fights?
No, I don't remember any of those either. We had a lot of parties,
Your dad was a real peaceable man.
Oh, that was Jim's family. Yeah, that's right.
What do you say?
I've known
I remember that Dad was one of the jolly bunch, as I mentioned, and he really did fall in that category. I thought.
Oh yeah. I never saw him mad. I never saw him mad.
No, I don't. know
Never
that I
did.
ever
Always
did
had a
either.
smile on his face.
Who was a disciplinarian in your family? Or was there one? There wasn't.
I don't think there was one.
Your mother was, I think.
Probably. I
yeah.
say I don't remember that, anything
Dad
like
was.
that.
You don't remember getting in trouble and punished or anything?
Never.
Jerry?
Well, I don't remember it. I have to ask Jerry. He probably has a better memory than I have. But
You were older when he was born.
well,
so
I
you-
was
That was
14 or
his
15
Yeah,
when he was
he-
born.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
when he'd just be getting into trouble.
Yeah.
No, I was a nerd in high school. Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. I don't know how to explain it, but I was a 100-pound weakling type thing,
It all
and
makes sense now.
yeah, thanks. And
Eat
some of that
saltwater taffy. I gotta get rid of it.
I was never in the mainstream of the high school. I don't think. I remember I wanted to play football, but I was too small. I don't know why I wanted to, but I'd played Sandlot. You know, we had a little park half a block away from us that a bunch of kids gathered at. We had a gang of kids, you know. And I played baseball and football and stuff with them. But anyway, I think in high school, I think I had one date. And that really wasn't a date. It was one of the members of the gang, a girl who lived next by. And she and I and another couple went out one day to go to a movie, and then down, this is in Rockford, Illinois, and there was River of the Red through town. They used to you'd pay them to give speedboat rides up and down the river, so we did that. And that was my big date, and that's the only one I ever had in high school.
What was her name? You remember her name?
Yeah, Wilcox. What was her first name? I forgot. Yeah, that's the surprising thing about that. I was talking to a guy at work one day. This was before I retired, and probably 1990 or 85 or something like that. Harvey Jewett, and turned out that he was from Rockford as well. And he was a little younger than I was, 2 or 3 years.
Oh, that's him snoring. I thought it was Ellie.
And so we started talking about it, and he remembered, he knew her, and he was madly in love with her.
Really?
Yeah.
He was about your age then?
He was a couple of years younger. Well, it turns out, he said, and I didn't realize it at the time, I was probably 15 or something, and she was probably 13.
Ah.
Real young. I never
I
thought
should
of it in
tell
that
you.
term. Mom has a story to
Not
tell.
your turn yet.
Jeez.
So do you remember anything about elementary school? You were talking about
Yeah, not
Soap in the window.
not too much. I went to
that was
St.
in Iowa.
That's
City.
in Iowa City. We went to St. Mary's, and it was a first grade through high school thing. And I went there until I was in junior high someplace. I said, I can't remember exactly. But I have very little memory. I remember that I can have one little flash when I must have been first, second, third grade or something, of sitting at a wooden desk, and 20 or 30 other kids, and the nun was teaching. You know, we had nuns back in those days as teachers. But I don't remember anything else about them. Then later on, when I was in junior high school, I remember we were over in another section of the building. I guess must have been for the older kids or something.
Same school?
Same school. And I can remember an auditorium we had there, and I can remember I guess we put on a play or something. I didn't have a part in it, but I guess I was an extra. I was sitting in the back, and so, you know, as extras do in those days, we just sit back there and jabbered and played or something. I can just remember that. It's probably all buried up here someplace, but I can't retrieve it.
And you remember
Bad
coming
hard
home
drive.
and what you're doing at home? You don't remember when what would you were talking about the little girl that lived next door.
Oh, that
was a lot
that
younger.
was when we moved from, in '42 we moved from Iowa City to Rock Island.
Okay.
Stayed there for a year or two, and then moved to Rockford. And I went to, I think, a 9th grade in Rockford, and then went to high school, which was, again, 9th grade, the junior high school was about 4 blocks away, and so was high school. And that was when I was talking about the girl
Oh, okay.
in high school.
Okay. Your first date, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
So in high school you were a nerd.
yes.
What's the worst thing that you did in your childhood in high school? Soap in the windows was bad.
If you
Oh,
can't
we didn't-
remember anybody.
No, he's remembering
Okay.
stuff.
No, I don't remember doing anything bad, but then what do I know? I do remember in high school that there was a couple of blocks in a business district, maybe a mile or two away, I can't remember. And I think it was Halloween or something. They must have had a parade or something there, and there was a bunch of rowdiness going on, and all I was doing was running around. I can't remember anything more than that. Whether I was in trouble or not, I don't know. I didn't wind up in jail. Almost did in college, but not in high school.
Tell us about that.
Well, that didn't amount to anything either. That was it was engineering school, you know, and there was a rivalry between the engineers and the law students for some reason. And when they had some engineering, what do you call it, mecha days or something, I don't know. Anyway, they were going over there, and one of the things they were going to do was go over to the law building and chain up the front doors and weld them shut so nobody could get in or out. So I just kind of tagged along with them, I guess, and so they actually did that. And the cops picked us up, took us down to the station, which was not too far away. And I don't know, nothing ever happened about it. So that was as close as I got in trouble, I guess. That was in college.
So you went to Iowa State?
No, University of
University
Iowa.
of Iowa.
Back in Iowa City, where I started.
Okay, so you moved back.
I went to school. My parents still lived in Rockford, and I came back to go to school in Iowa City, and I stayed with this aunt, Aunt Mady, who was my father's cousin, who had this pavilion in the city park.
Okay, yeah.
And so I stayed with her in the upstairs room up there, and went to school there for the first year, and then the second year I actually stayed with another relative, which was this aunt's daughter, who had a house nearby, and I stayed and rented a room or something from her. And then the following year, my parents moved back to town, believe it or not. So I stayed with them until I graduated.
Was college expenses back then like it is now, or was that something
No,
that...
it was pretty cheap. In fact, I had one of the cousins, the English side of the family, which I didn't talk much about, Jess Englert, I guess it was, Jess, or something like that. She was a secretary to the president of the university, and I guess my dad intervened with her, and she intervened to get me a scholarship, because I was living out of state, and it was $200 a year or some ridiculous fee. So, or no, probably more than that. That's what I paid or something. So that and my books are my only expenses. And my dad took care of the little
Can't take you anywhere.
what little rent I had to pay, and so I got to fly real cheap.
Did you have good grades in high school? Was it the same like it is now, where you have to have good grades in high school to get into a college? Or?
I don't recall that. Well, of course, when I went to college in '46, that was the end of World War II, and all the veterans were returning to school, and the college must have been 80% veterans coming back to school. And anyway, I don't recall any admission requirements. Maybe there was some, but I don't think so. I think I got a scholarship on the basis that I had fairly good grades, like B+ or something. But that was kind of funny too, that I got good grades in college, mainly because the returning veterans had been away from school so long they didn't know how to do it. I had just gotten out of high school, so I was used to it. And I think I got better grades simply because I could pass the test easier than they could.
Do you remember what your favorite subject was in high school?
I think it's probably science and math. I was good in science and math. That would made it my favorite subject, I guess.
Did you know you wanted to be an engineer when you were growing up, or how did you fall into that?
That's another story. Back when I was back in Rock Island and going to that junior high school there for 1 year or something, they gave you a aptitude test, and I think I'd had good grades in it before that, and so I was going to this the aptitude test. I remember it says silly things like, "What would you rather do? Go to a movie or do a science project," or something like that, you know. So I would put down, do a science project. so I turned out like I was going to be the greatest engineer in the world. See? So as soon as that thing came up back and said that would be my aptitude, I just sort of accepted that, and I just went with it. What's the matter, Jim? Did you do better?
No.
No, mine's a lot worse.
I think I remember you showing me a book that you used to have in college on physics.
I think I still have it.
You still have it, and you open up this it's a little book because there's no pictures,
Of course.
and it's small, tiny print, and it's probably, basic physics that even advanced classes in high school might teach some of it,
Uh-huh.
or probably the whole thing.
Probably so.
But reading it is just horrendous.
Hard
I
to
don't know
read.
how you understood what you read in those books.
That's right. When I look at the textbooks nowadays, they look like comic books to me, because they had all these sidebars and
And
things
something.
that's easy to read, and they little pieces instead of long text. Yeah, I agree, and
Yeah.
but I think it's much better now. I would have been a lot
Happened to me the
easier.
other night.
But that's the way they did textbooks in those days.
Diane, do you want to ask him about his animals in childhood?
I I'm sorry I took control.
Did you have any pets growing up? We didn't ask you that.
Well, no, that's
You had a dog
When I
That's
lived-
cat.
and a cat?
John, would you like to talk without anybody else?
Is anybody, everybody finished?
Did you have a cat?
I don't think so.
Do you have a dog?
Did I have a
All those
cat?
pictures of black and white cat that you had?
Was it a neighbor?
Oh no, that was in college when I was going to college, and my mom had, I guess my mom had the cat, and I was when I went to college, I worked in the university photography service. You know, they provided photography service for the whole university. I worked in the darkroom mostly and stuff. But they had, then those first days that the strobe light came out instead of using the flash bulb. So I took the thing home, you know, and took pictures of the cat jumping all over, and that's what you remember.
Oh, that's right.
It's your cat, then.
Yeah.
Do you still have those pictures?
Yeah, around someplace. You know. That's what I was trying to do with
I know you were
Ida.
telling me about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, how we get in? Oh, that's animal. So that wasn't mine. I don't even, I guess it was Mom's.
You had a
Or
dog.
maybe Jerry. Jerry, you know, Jerry was,
You had a bird.
he was like 10 years old, or no, he was about 5 or 6 years old. They had that little bird. He probably had a
Yeah.
cat too. But when I was a kid, when I lived in that house that I was telling you about, the 2-story house, we rented a room to a guy who upstairs who was turned out to be marry one of my mom's sisters, Brownie, and he had a big, fluffy. What kind of dog would it be? Like a Saint Bernard, only a smaller one, I think. And he was around the house all the time. It wasn't my dog, but the kids used to play. We used to have a big front porch with a wood railing, and we'd jump over the railing and down the side, down to the street and back up. And this dog would follow us, and he jumped too. And one time I jumped down to the ground, and he landed right on top of me. That was the first dog, but he wasn't ours. And then we went to Rockford. We had a dog. I don't remember the name. Small dog, and I remember that Dad had to take him down to put him to sleep for whatever reason, which broke me up. I don't think he told me about it until afterwards. And that was the only animals I remember in the family until I married this one. It's not this animal, but this woman who brought all the animals into the family.
He married me and my cat. He married me and my cat, Diane.
Good. He's a good man.
That's a whole nother story.
Yes.
That's coming up at the end. I had a question when you were talking. So Jerry was born, I skipped over that. We're past Jerry now. He was born when you were 14 or 15?
Yeah, I was in high school.
Do you remember the day he was born?
I know what it is, but I don't remember. I was 40. Well, I guess I don't remember exactly. You want to know?
Well, I mean, you don't remember the day? You do
Oh, when I
remember
was
when he
there?
born?
No, I don't remember
Would he
that.
have been born at home?
No, he was born in the hospital. I remember that. And the thing I remember about him being born was that my mother said something to me. She says, "You're going to have a baby brother or sister," whatever she said. And I didn't know how to take it, and I didn't want to make a big thing, so I just sort of walked away. I didn't think anything about it. But I remember those days, being the nerd that I was, on the weekends I'd sometimes go downtown and go to a movie theater there that actually had a movie, and then they had a vaudeville act usually that came with it. In any case, I can remember going to that movie and then thinking about what she said. And I don't know how it affected me. That's just that's the way it was. And I don't remember anything really about. I remember he was born in the hospital. That's about all.
Remember bringing him home?
No. I remember that he, when he was a little kid,
You get me?
he was 1, 2, 3 years old, and Cy lived with us then. At that time, his mother, Margaret Dietz, which is my father's sister, her husband was in the Army, and he was over in Germany, and so she came to live with us. She lived in Rock Island and moved up to Rockford, and she and Cy lived with us, so he and I bumped around, even though we were different in age, about 4 years.
He was
Germany,
She was 4 years younger.
World
World War II.
War II, sorry.
He was, he was, in fact, he was a lawyer, and he was in the Nuremberg trials, some of them anyway.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or some kind of trials over there after the war. Or maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe he was in the in the military government. But anyway, they lived with us, and Cy and I used to play with Jerry when he was a little kid and have a ball with him. And Cy, you know, he's so outgoing anyway. He used to get him all excited about the mongoose was chasing him. I don't know where the mongoose came from, but they'd run around the house, you know, and I've got some pictures that we took back in those days, especially the Christmas card I took of Jerry. So I remember a bit about playing with him when I was in high school, and he was 2 or 3 years old.
Was he a mistake? Was he unplanned?
I have no idea, but I assume so.
That's a pertinent question. Pretty far apart name.
They're looking for some scandal around here.
What would he say if you asked him that? Would he
Jerry?
say-
I never asked him that. I don't know. And
We should get Jerry and Cy and Dad together next time
Yeah.
Cy's here.
oh,
and
would,
start
that would be a fun
That'd be
thing to do.
interesting, yeah.
Why do you
Remember
think there was
stuff.
such a
I never thought of.
50-year difference between?
It never occurred to me. You know, I was a nerd, and nothing like that ever occurred to me. In fact, it was only in the past some 15 years, 10 or 15 years, I even thought about that.
You never had a miscarriage that you know of?
Not that I know.
Okay, we
Yeah.
were back. Oh, go ahead.
I want to backtrack.
Okay, go ahead.
Way back. We didn't talk about the English side of the family.
Okay.
There's a story about the English side that's more interesting than any of the ones I have.
This is your mom.
This is my
Your dad.
my dad's mother
Okay.
side. Her name was Frances Englert, and her father was Louis Englert, another very prominent guy in Iowa City. Did a lot of things, and he married a Clara Kempfer. I'm still trying to trace things down. I'm a little confused about it all, but apparently she was a daughter of a German baron who was supposedly an aide to Kaiser Wilhelm I, first, I think. And apparently her mother gave birth to 2 girls, and since he wanted a boy, or maybe they expected boys in those days, he divorced her, and then she came to this country, and then she had who? Clara. Clara was one of the 2 girls.
What was the
This
last
is your
name?
great-grand.
That was my
What's
great-grandmother.
the last name, Claire?
Kempfer. Kempfer. F-A-R, Sinclair.
You have Claire von
Yeah.
Baumgartner.
Okay, that's true. That's what her real name was, von Baumberger. But somehow her mother came back to this country and apparently married a Kempfer. And then I think she assumed her name.
So this is what Cy was talking about when he was talking about you're related to her.
Yeah, well,
Oh.
the
Baron.
Baron. That's right.
So how did the Baron fit in the whole scheme of things back then? Because I don't really know that history very well.
I don't know it either. That's all I know is that supposedly he was an aide to Wilhelm, and Wilhelm, I've traced back, I guess he had his offices or monarch or whatever up in northern Germany, almost on the coast of the Baltic Sea.
Who
Forget the name.
Wilhelm?
Wilhelm, Kaiser Wilhelm.
He is who?
He was, this great-great-great-grandfather of mine was a baron, and he was an aide to this Kaiser Wilhelm, who was famous.
Okay.
Anyway, that's about the only thing on that side, except that Clara Kempfer married Louis Englert, who was my grandfather on my mother's side.
Father's side.
Father's side, yeah, his mother's side, and he was he's very well known in Iowa City too. He also had an ice business. He had the one that delivered ice door to door, but he also had a brewery, and he owned a bunch of property around there. His name's all over the place. So he was. In fact, he owned a house. He built a house that is still there, and it was reputed to have been a drop-off point for the Underground Railroad when they were trying to take Negroes down from south and put them up in the north. Don't know if that's true or not, but that was part of the story. Okay, back to wherever you were in your list.
Okay. Did you want to add anything else about the genealogy part?
No, I can't remember any of it.
Okay.
I've just had enough wine.
I think you're still in college.
Okay, I was in college.
I'm back in World War One, so.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't even have any understanding of this at all.
So you always knew you were going to be an engineer
Yeah.
because you took that test that told you that you
I think
you
so. I
cheated on the
just
test.
didn't even think about it, doing anything else.
Was college hard for you or?
No, it was fairly easy. Yeah.
4 years?
4 years, yeah, 4 years. Yeah, it went pretty good.
And what was your degree in?
Mechanical engineering.
Mechanical engineering.
How'd you get into stress engineering?
Well, that's
married his
little,
wife.
that's a little less. That's a little farther down.
He
the
wanted to
list.
get rid of my 2 dogs
that
about an
more-
hour ago.
Just real quick, is that more,
Your two dogs.
Yeah.
that's not education, that's more experience,
job.
right?
No, it's education. But when I graduated from college, I went to worked for Eastman Kodak. I'd actually, looked at several different jobs, but I was interested in photography in those days because I worked in the studio and all that stuff. And so they gave me an offer, and I went to work for them. And I didn't particularly like the job. And after a year and a half, when I decided they weren't going to take me to Korea, I opened up an engineering magazine, and they had a centerfold there with a picture of the beach and the palm trees, and it was the dead of winter. And it says, "Come to sunny San Diego, work for Convair." So I sent them a letter, and they sent me a letter back and said, "Come, and we'll pay you so much." And so I took off in January of '52 and wound up here.
And that's when you first started stress, was Convair?
Yeah, I came in, and I don't know. I remember now that remember something that I was kind of interested in stress. When I got out of college, like I always said, I had no idea what engineering was. I went through all the courses and all that stuff. I didn't know what engineers did, and of course it turns out they do a lot of different things. Simply getting in the picture. Hey, this is my time.
She's almost 19 years old. She can do whatever she wants.
And so when I went to work for Eastman Kodak, it was kind of an interesting job, but it was a hands-on type job. I worked in a little shop that was making modifications and things to film processing. And never mind, as long as you can hear me.
Go ahead, yeah, keep talking.
And we'd have to design things and almost build it ourselves on lathes and mills and stuff. And I had no experience. I really never worked with my hands at all to speak of. So that's part of the reason I didn't like it. Although as I got to the end of it, I was picked up a lot, and I finally figured out how to do it, I guess.
So you were like a manufacturing type engineer? You did.
Yeah, I guess you'd call that. Yeah, we'd build. I was working on a way of automatically spooling 8mm film. When after they come out of the processing machine, put it on a spool automatically. Now they fed it in, in those days, and they wound it up. But it took me a while, but I came up with something that worked. I don't know whether it was feasible, really feasible manufacturing, but at that time I left at any rate.
I'm probably getting off.
And
No, this is right on.
and I kind of thought that when I was working there, that I really would rather do something more bookish, I guess. Nerdy is the word. And stress sounded good to me.
Where you could sit at a desk instead of
Yeah,
running
I
out
didn't have to
building
run the
stuff.
darn machines and understand how they did everything and all that stuff.
So did Convair hire you as a stress engineer, or did they hire you and then you moved into the stress?
No, I came in and I don't recall whether I asked to be in the stress department or not, but they asked me. I went up to interview Garner Green, who was the head of the stress department, and he was interested in photography too. So he says, "You start here." So I did, and that's sort of how it happened.
Do you remember how much you made at Kodak?
I remember when I came here, I worked at Convair. I think it was $300 a month, and that was more than I was making at Kodak by quite a bit.
Before Kodak, I'm going to go back. You worked when you were in college. You had a couple jobs, you said?
I had that job in the photography
book?
studio while I went to school.
Was that your first job?
In high school, I worked as a janitor in a little store one time for summer type stuff, and I worked in a print shop doing the same type of janitorial stuff in high school in the summer. And I worked in the post office at Christmas time, and then every summer during college, I would also come home and I'd get a job, summer job. I worked in a machine shop there, actually, setting up stuff for making cabinet hinges and stuff in the hinge manufacturing. And one year I worked in as a draftsman. Well, one year I worked as on the field as a surveyor, which is kind of fun. So it was kind of miserable.
That was in
hot
college?
summers. That was in college. And then about that time, I guess my dad I guess the Camp Grant had closed or something. And my dad was now working for Bird Piston Ring Company. I don't know what he did, but he worked for this company, and he got me a job doing in the drafting department, so I did drafting in the summer.
And did you end up paying for part of your college, or is that what you did with your money when you were in college? What did you do with your money?
I had plenty of money in college. They say, I think my parents took care. Well, of course, the last couple of years I lived with them, so it wasn't any expense except for the books and stuff. And I suspect, I don't really remember, I think I took care of all that because I made pretty good money working part-time. I had a real good deal in this photographic studio. I could work in the darkroom. If I decided I wanted to work at midnight, I'd just go in there and work a couple hours. And put it down my time card, and I made pretty good money. And more
Do you
money.
remember how much you made there?
No, I don't remember how much it was as an hourly thing, but I remember that I was about as well off as I got to be after I went to work. You know, I had money to burn. I didn't do a lot of things anyway.
Did you live with your parents when you were working at Eastman, Minnesota?
Oh no, I was in Rochester, New York.
Oh, do you want to drink?
Yeah, that wine out there, if you would.
Which one is it?
It's there's only one big one at the bottom left hand, very bottom.
I just twinkled and.
Yeah.
Oh, here's it. So what do you remember?
Put some ice in it.
You lived with an aunt, and then where was your first home when you were on your own?
Well,
Where did you
if
live?
you don't count college, the 2 years that I lived with my aunt.
Right.
Okay.
Without that.
And then that would have been when I went to Rochester, New York.
Okay.
I went there, and it turns out that another member of my same graduating class, I didn't even know him very well, but he was a chemical engineer, and thank you. And he was going to work for Eastman Kodak too, so we roomed together. We got a upstairs apartment together, and I lived there for a year and a half.
Is that the picture we have of the Cheez-Its on the?
No, that was when I moved out here by myself.
Oh, okay.
That was kind of a brave thing for me, for a nerd like me to do, is to leave there and come all the way out here. I'd never been east or west of Des Moines, but at that time.
How'd you get here?
I drove. I had a 47 Studebaker, first car I bought a year after I got out of college, and I drove that out.
Did you drive with Pauline the first time, or?
No, that was way after.
So what'd your parents think when you said you were moving to San Diego?
I don't know if I ever asked them. I don't remember that they don't know if they cared. I do remember that I left there in December of '51, and I drove to Iowa City in the snow. I remember coming up Davenport, Iowa. There was some streets that were pretty steep there, and it was full of snow, and I was having a heck of a time getting up the darn thing. But anyway, I stopped in Iowa City and saved my parents during Christmas, you know, and then I drove out after Christmas. But I don't recall them
Did Convair
talking about it.
give you any help in finding a place to live here, or did you just
No, in
showed
those
up?
days, they just showed up. But they, on the other hand, they never interviewed. They never saw me until I got there.
Did they pay your way out here?
All by, pardon?
Pay your way out?
I don't think so. But I don't know. I don't remember.
It was all by what? How did they interview?
I sent them a letter, and they sent me a letter back, says come. I think they gave me an offer, and I sent a letter back, says I'll be there.
Wow.
And that was it. But see, in those days, they were ramping up quite a bit. This was some years after the World War II. When World War II, things went down, then they went back up again. And they were real busy. They were hiring anybody off the street they could find. So they even hired me.
So you drove here, and how'd you find your first apartment, and do you remember where it was and all that?
Well, I lucked out in that this aunt that I lived with in Iowa City when I went to college had a friend who lived in San Diego, up in the North Park area. And these were older people at the time. They were retired. And so it was comforting to me to have somebody to go to that I kind of knew. I didn't know them, but they were at least a relative. So, you know, they brought me over for dinner and looked in the newspaper for a room to rent. And I found a place over in Hillcrest. This lady and her daughter she had an old house with a room in the back and with a bath, and that's the place that had the cheeses on the counter. And that worked out pretty good. In fact, she's a real nice gal, and I remember she always wanted me to join the Conakry Club. I don't know if that's still in operation, but it was out in Shelter Island, I believe, and it was a going concern. She was a founding member or something. I never did, but then about 10 years ago, I just happened to accidentally see an obituary where she had died. That was kind of interesting. But anyway, that was the first time I'd been away from home. Well, I'd been away from home for a year and a half before, but it was a little different.
Do you remember what your job was like
My job, yeah.
when you first started?
Yeah. I just remember I worked for this guy. Well, I don't want to hear all that, but he was a character. But he was the smartest guy I ever known. But he was a character, and we were just in those days. They had a 340. It was a small transport plane. They were doing weight and balance, as they call it, you know. So that's what I worked on. That was pretty simple to do. And I remember asking some questions. You know, it was kind of a joke. You know, I was asking, "What's a spar?" Well, a wing spar. Everybody knew what that was, except me. But it was a super bunch of people that I worked with all my career, especially when I started out.
Did you feel like you didn't know what you were doing when you first started there?
I don't think I cared, because this was heaven to me. I came here in January. They tell me that later I found out that January was one of the wettest years they had. People were all around me were apologizing for the terrible weather we're having, and I thought it was heaven on earth, because that's one of the reasons I left Rochester. The winters were just terrible. I counted 90 days without seeing the sun, and I didn't like that. It was at 80 days, something like that. And come out here and nothing but sun, you know, and warm weather, and it was great. I lived in this room for 6 months or something, and then guys at Victor and Jim Betters and lived with a couple other people. These are guys I worked with, and they lived in an apartment up above Conver, and they were going to move to the beach and wanted me to join them. So I said sure. So it was 4 of us actually, and so I went to the beach and I lived it up. I didn't care about work. Work was just something I had to find the money for the rest of the time, you know.
Were these guys your same age about?
Pretty well. They were a little older than I am, probably.
Where did you
Lived in South Mission Beach on Brighton Court. That house is still there now. I think it's 730 or something. And, yeah, that was great. And then when Mom and I got married, we only lived a few blocks from there, right on the ocean. But anyway, work came real easy, and there were such good people to work with. I kind of enjoyed working, actually, especially the Christmas parties we had. We had wild Christmas parties back in those days. Lots of liquor.
Bunch of engineers.
Do you remember what you guys would do when you get home from
Maya.
work? Would you go out on the beach?
She wants him to wake up. Maya.
Go ahead.
No, I don't remember that specifically, except that there was in the stress group that I was in, to get the shop experience, they required everybody within the first year or so that they came to work there to work in the shop for 6 months, not doing shop work, but doing engineering work. When somebody would follow up a part, didn't make it quite to blueprint, we'd have to figure out whether we could use it or whether we thought to fix it and stuff like that. So I worked night last, and they gave me night last, and then I would go to work at when was it? I guess 3 and 4 in the afternoon, work till midnight or something. And I can always remember I was bashing it in those days, of course, and I would get up in the morning and I'd go out and lay on the beach, and by the time I swam a couple times and laid there a while, all of a sudden it was time to go to work. And that's all I did for quite a while. But then that was before Carolyn.
Do you remember?
BC.
Do you remember specific projects that you worked on besides that one plane
All of
in
them,
the
yeah.
beginning?
I'm making a website for that.
Are you?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the projects I worked on pretty well. That's actually all my timing, most of the timing things in my life out here has been things I could pinpoint things I was working on, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We work on this airplane, sometimes we went up to LA to work for a while, and there was always that time period and that sort of thing.
How long did you work on that first plane that you were talking? What was it, the M
Well,
Charger 36?
No, I worked, in those days I worked on, in the first 5 years, I worked on a lot of different things. I was always, well, this is a technical part, you don't really care about that.
No, that's good. We should-
Well, this is, the job of a stress guy is to help the designers design an airplane that is light enough and strong enough. And I never really worked with designers until for about 5 years after I got there. And so the first time I had to, felt a little uncomfortable because I did other things. For instance, I did some work I worked for a year or so on testing a big plane called the R3Y, what they call this ramp. It's now a Hertz rent-a-car on San Diego Bay. And we did, we had to do a lot of calculations for how much load to put on, and monitor the test to see what kind of stresses developed and be sure nothing broke. And they had so many design problems with that airplane. And they used to have this huge airplane and this huge building, and they were pulling and pulling on with these big hydraulic actuators, and suddenly the rivets would stop, pop, and then bang, 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 bang. And you're standing behind posts. They're not supposed to do that. And I spent at least a year, I think, working on the R3Y test and that sort of thing.
So you would design all this stuff, and you'd go in and build this stuff and actually test it on.
Well, as I say, the first few years I was there, I didn't do the design. Somebody already done the design, and the airplane had been built. And so the first one was a test vehicle, and I was working on that. And I did that type of work. And there's a lot of I did what they call final reports. After the planes are built and everything, you have to write a report to satisfy the government that everything's okay.
And that's the kind of stuff you like to do.
A lot of math and stuff, yeah. We didn't have calculators. We had mechanical calculators called marchands, and I'd sit on a marchand all day long, bang, 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 bang.
And you're sitting in your desk, desk, where you wanted to be.
Well, kind of, I guess.
She had to be.
I didn't stay there all the time. I got up a lot.
So Mom says to ask about the Charger.
Oh, okay. The Charger was that was later in the career. That was in '64 or '5. That was a project that the company has been kind of getting out of the airplane business because they kind of flunked out on the 990, which is a big transport. They couldn't sell enough of them. They lost a lot of money on it. And so they were going to bid on a small counterinsurgency airplane for Vietnam War type thing, a small airplane that could land in a small place and do ground support activities and stuff. And so there was competition between them, and North American was going to build one. So Jimmy Adamson, the vice president there, decided he convinced him to go start a design, but do it surreptitiously. In other words, put a secret thing on it. So he got me on the project, as well as a lot of my friends, and we went out in this building in the back, and nobody was supposed to know what we're doing, and we sat there and designed the airplane. We always laughed about it. We always made them use soft rivets because they made too much noise with the hard rivets, pounding them in, and they built the thing right next to us. And it was a small airplane that we were kind of proud of because we had worked a lot of extra free hours working on the thing. And
how many guys would you say was on the team? Were on the team?
The design team was probably not too many, 50 maybe. That's designers and every type of specialists. And then there were a bunch of factory people too. And so they rolled it out finally, and then the Navy brought it was a Navy plane for the Navy, and they brought it and say, "See, we got this plane already done for you, and don't give the contract to somebody else." So the Navy came in and flew the plane several times, and we claimed that the Navy pilot screwed up one time when he took it out over Otay Mesa someplace, and one of the tests was it was two-engine plane propellers, and he was supposed to cut off one engine and show how they could land it with or no, I guess it wasn't to show it how they could land with one engine, but simply how they could restart it. Well, he screwed up the restart sequence so that they couldn't restart it. So he brought it in, and I happened to be goofing off outside by the gate. I used to go out and take walks, like everybody else did sometimes, up and down there, get away from the desk work. And I just happened to be there when he comes over the field to make his approach, and I saw there was one prop down. I didn't know what it was. I couldn't see it. But anyway, suddenly he just rolled and went over his back, and a puff of smoke, and his parachute guy was ejected up, and his parachute opened and landed over in Ryan on top of the building over there. And the plane crashed right at the what's that?
You're crying because of your charger.
I'm not crying.
He got that whole orchestrated.
Oh.
He came home with tears in
I
his
saw it
eyes.
crash, yeah. I was kind of,
Yeah.
but it was real disappointment to see it crash,
Yeah.
And I remember,
in San Diego?
yeah, in the field there. The pilot survived. He broke a leg or something, but anyway, we blamed him. And anyway, the project went down the tubes. They built another airplane, but they never did anything with it because the Navy just decided it was a lousy airplane. We were never convinced it was, but it was it was the closest thing to our hearts, and most of the guys that worked down there agree that was the best project we ever worked on.
Because of why? Because it was
No, because it was
cutting
fun.
edge, or-
No, it was a fun project to work on. Usually you sit up there and you make all these drawings, and then you don't see anything happen for a long time. And we saw things happen right away. We get the drawings off just about the time they were trying to manufacture parts for us.
They had to work right where the airplane was being built in a big hangar.
Yeah,
Locked in
secret,
there.
yeah.
And it was fun.
He wouldn't even tell me what they were doing.
Really?
No, he really kept the secret there.
What did you think he was doing?
Well, I knew he was working on a secret project, but I didn't know he wouldn't tell me what it was.
Yeah. Your imagination didn't go wild and.
But the
Might have been
only
an
reason for
airplane.
secrecy was the competition.
Some kind of an airplane. I was too busy with the kids.
But you came to the rollout ceremony.
That's right, I did, yeah.
We have a picture of that.
The what?
But oh boy, that was sad.
They rolled the airplane out.
He was devastated. I've never seen him so
Well, let's hear
sad.
about that. How devastating he was.
Stay with him.
Move the camera.
Get me started.
Okay. Well, let's see. I have on here about your career and stuff too, but maybe we should do that at the end.
This is about the end, isn't it?
No,
You down half a
Did we
page.
skip some parts?
I need to.
Our company, our company was one that crashed, and we did not get the contract. We built that. We built that on our own money,
Oh, okay.
and North American got the contract from the government. They later built one that was very similar to ours. But they never-
Engineer.
It wasn't real successful. It probably wasn't needed.
He's a nerd, yeah. Like Dan says, nerds rule the world. Why isn't he ruling the world? He was a nerd. He's a nerd. We're all broke.
I can't fix the computer, that's why.
Is it broken?
No, but every time you break it, I have to fix it.
Okay. Well, on my list now. Okay, you moved to California.
We're gonna turn this on.
It is on. And now we're to meeting Mom, which means that you have to be in on it because this is
What
where
is this? An hour.
Well, our versions will probably be entirely different.
What's this you say?
Is that a different time, or is it?
I kind of want to keep going if you're up for it.
I'm all right.
Let me go comb my hair.
This ought to take a while.
And the women would always say that the engineers are the most reliable husbands.
I heard that too.
Oh, man, I gotta change my...
I don't know if the word reliable is correct, but at any rate.
Did you work with a lot of women? They were probably all secretaries.
No one else wanted them, that's why.
When I first started there, we didn't have computers, and we had calculators. We had these mechanical calculators, and later on some better ones. But we would set up spreadsheets. We didn't call them that in those days. Do calculations, and then we let them run the numbers. Each column would tell them how to run them, and they'd do the running. So we had 2 or 3 gals that did that, and we had secretaries around. But never had a woman engineer until probably the 80s or something.
Really? 80?
That I can remember. That may be earlier, but anyway.
Sad.
Sorry.
Okay.
It's just the way it is.
Can you move a little bit closer?
No.
Put your arm around.
Okay, tell us how, let's let Dad talk about this. Then you can-
We don't want to be here for 6
then you-
hours.
You can give your version of
That's
the
right.
story.
Couldn't get it done in
Dad's
6
version.
hours, I'm sorry, Jim.
So you can't, you're in San Diego now and you're living at the beach
I was
stuff?
living at the beach
Brighton?
with, I was living at the beach with 3 other guys inside of Brighton Court. Let's see, that was in 52, and let's see, I moved in there in late 52, I guess, and I don't know how long we lasted. The guys started to marry out from under us, and finally, Jack Stitt, one of the guys, and I were the last one, so we moved over across the street on the bay side into an apartment there.
On Brighton Court?
No, this was well, nearby, but it wasn't Brighton Court, Bayside Way or Bayside Lane or something.
Walk.
Walk. And then Jack he got called up to the Army, believe it or not. Couldn't get out of it, and he left, and then I was alone, and about that time I met Carolyn, I think.
What army? What army?
He was in the Army.
No,
What-
you get
what
the-
army?
what
She go
army?
on to
What,
eat.
what war, I should say?
Oh, no, this was the Korean War.
Korea.
Turned out he never left the States, but
Who are you talking
that's what I
about?
was concerned. The war in 1950.
Did you date a lot, oh, sorry, did you date a lot of girls when you came
Well, I
here?
was still kind of a nerd. Oh yeah, I did a few, but nothing much. The way I met Mom was because one of the guys in the group, and when we split up, he went over to live with Jack Cooper, I guess, and they lived back by the college, and then Jack Stitt and I maintained at the beach. And Jim Bethers, the other guy, I remember simply that we started, I was going to this, or maybe we were both going to this club, or whatever it was. It was a singles club, if you will, down in the basement of the San Diego Hotel, was it? And it was a dance club type
Downtown?
thing. Yeah, Sunday nights or Saturday nights or something, once a week. And they had, I don't think they had records or something. Did they? No, she'll tell you her version. At any rate, it was a dance club, and I remember being there, and I remember that walking someplace, and I saw Carolyn, and I expressed admiration, I guess, for her.
How did you express your
I don't
admiration?
recall that
Okay.
detail. But Jim says, "Oh, I know her. You'll like her." And I don't know whether right then or not, I was nervous about it. I asked her to dance. And we did, and that's about all I can remember about that. And we got started going steady not very long after. Now you're
Did he?
Well, I thought it was steady at the time.
So you met her in a bar, or is it case?
He sort of.
No, it was
yeah.
called the Revelers Club. It was a dance club
Oh, I
for
can-
adults. And Jim Bethards brought you over and properly introduced you to
Yes,
me
that's right.
first.
That's true.
And then you asked me if I wanted to dance.
How did you know him? How did you know Jim Bethers?
I knew Jim from, how did I know Jim?
You went skiing with him or something.
Yeah, I don't know how I knew him though.
Like a friend of a friend type thing?
No, I knew him.
Was he more than a friend?
No, no.
Dig deeper.
You're always looking for something.
I know, really. I can't remember how I knew him, but I knew him from
Yeah,
somewhere.
I thought that he'd
Probably-
been skiing with you or something.
And Jim Bethard
Yeah,
worked with
oh,
you,
yeah,
right?
I guess we went skiing, the Revelers
Really?
Club went skiing a
They
couple
worked
times,
together.
and maybe I knew him from then, yeah, I guess so.
So Jim Bethers worked with you, and he was one of the guys you lived with?
Yes.
They all worked with, at
He's
the same
deceased
place,
now,
right?
he's
Not
gone.
everybody in the club.
No, I mean, that you
He died
lived
early,
with, your
very early.
guys?
All except one. One was an
Who?
engineer, but he worked over at Ryan. Later became a lawyer, had an office down here in Garnett, and he was a real heavy guy, and he died in his 30s, I think.
Really?
One sad story. Anyway,
Wait, who was that? That was Jim, no.
no, that was
That was-
that was one of the guys we lived with who was
Okay.
not working at Conver at the time. The
Okay.
other guys were.
And it was
Alright.
Jim Bethard, Jack Cooper, and, who's the other guy with it?
Well, it was originally it was Dick Lear and Jim Bethers, Don Marlin, and myself.
The wheel's going in. We need oil.
Mine doesn't, I thought it was Zach.
We don't,
Well, go ahead. Where
Go
were we?
ahead.
Your
What am I
version.
supposed to say?
Your version.
Well, how do you remember meeting Dad?
like we said, just like I said.
So Jim Bethers came over and introduced you,
Yeah.
and you danced.
And he asked me to dance, and I danced. And we would, every night we would dance the last number together, to the song of Tenderly.
How's Tenderly go?
Tenderly.
How it goes. I have a sore throat. Frog in my throat.
So you went to the dance. You met at the dance, and you went there after that. Did he take you out on a date? Did you go out on a date with her, or did you go other places?
I guess.
Yeah, we did. We went out, we dated.
Do you remember where you would go?
Dance places, dance.
You danced a lot.
And then we started, then after we went out for a while, he used to take me skiing.
I used to go to High Line.
High
Did we
yeah.
take you down there? I can't
Where is
High.
that?
High Line, Tijuana.
Oh, hi.
We did a lot of swimming at the beach and going out, past the breakers and swimming out there. Stay for an hour or so and swim.
In Tijuana?
I don't remember that.
No, in San Diego.
Where were you living at the time, Mom?
I was living, when I met you, I was living on Grand Avenue, wasn't I?
Well, that's where we were married. We were. I don't know if we lived there
Yeah,
all
I
the time
lived there
before.
then too. Grand Avenue was just a dirt road. Grand down there, and then the Main Street was a dirt road. And we lived in a little duplex right where, on the end of Cass and Grand. And that's Kavita, getting her own food.
Not too far from Taco Bell. I think
Yeah,
a little east
yeah.
of Taco
It
Bell.
was just a little duplex, and I lived there with Guy and Mother and Stephen. And,
What did they think of Dad?
They liked Dad. I was dating another guy at the same time as Dad.
I didn't know that.
Oh, I told you, Dad.
I know. I didn't at the time. I didn't know that.
Oh, no, you didn't know that. He wouldn't know. He didn't know about you either. But
What was that
anyway,
guy's name?
his name was Don. He liked, Mother liked
That's where
him
Donnie got
better
his
than
name,
Don.
probably.
Yeah. Here's the dirt road.
No,
Florida.
come on.
You never thought of that.
I always liked that name. I always liked that name. No, it wasn't that.
So
But
Dodie
Mother
liked-
always liked Dad better because she thought that this other guy drank too much, and she could see that I was going in the same path that she did if I married him. They both wanted to marry me. Just both of them wanted to marry me.
I don't recall that.
You didn't know anything about it.
So when you and Dad dated, when you went to Hialeah, you went out dancing. Was there a favorite place you'd go to more often than others to eat or anything?
Well, we still continued the Revelers Club. Was probably the
Yeah,
best
we
place
went there too, yeah.
I can remember going to a place in Mission Valley, the Town and Country Club.
Yeah, we went there. He didn't take me, and that's right, you didn't take me out dancing very much.
I didn't.
No, we danced at the
I never
Revelers Club.
danced with anybody else. I
No,
remember.
you didn't take me out dancing, but you didn't take me out to dinner much.
Oh, that's right.
No,
Yeah.
you never did. But the other guy did.
I was
He
too
would
cheap.
come down, he lived in L.A.,
The other
and
guy
he was a
showing
manager of
screening
the
up.
50s up there. And he would come down on Friday nights all the way on the little two-lane Highway 1 and take him so long to come down and take me out to dinner. He always take me out to fancy restaurants for dinner. But he would take me skiing. So see, I had the best of two worlds.
That's right.
Active thing.
Yeah, he did the active things on the other guy. The other guy danced though. He could really dance. I mean, he would I mean, he would dance good, but I mean, he really could dance.
I think you've been insulted.
I mean,
think I have, too.
no, people would clear the floor. I mean, he could really dance.
Okay, this is
You know,
about
What,
YouTube.
jitterbug? What would you
Just-
dance?
Oh, he
What
liked
you
the
guys dance?
slow numbers. He was really good. Tango and all those.
What would you and Dad dance? What kind of dances? Do you remember?
Jitterbug, waltz,
We did
foxtrot.
cha-chas and...
And then we took dancing lessons. We learned the cha-cha
Yeah, that's right, we
and,
did.
and the jitterbug and all
Where'd you
those.
take dance lessons?
Somebody that you worked with or for gave lessons through Convair. It was through Convair. Can't remember his name.
Davis.
Well, yeah, I remember a guy.
No, not that guy. No, that was later. We lost $75 to him too.
I think I know who you
Get
mean,
it
but I
back.
can't remember his name. There was a place another place I can remember about the dance lessons were up on 30th Avenue, well, not too
Yeah,
far where
that's
Dr.
where it was,
Arcellus
yeah.
used to be.
And he was a friend of yours.
Yeah.
We took dance lessons there. And we almost broke up over one of those nights too.
Why? Tell us about that.
because there was this other girl, nice looking girl in the class. And, we'd be in lines, the guys here and the girls here, and we'd be practicing, apart from each other. He'd always be watching her, not me, and I got really, really jealous. I was very jealous.
You were.
I was a very jealous person, yeah. And so I just told him I didn't want to see him anymore. so, so we didn't date for, what, a couple weeks or so?
I don't
Do you
remember.
remember that?
Several weeks. And then he called me up and wanted to,
I remember
just
we
to
were-
talk to me.
Yeah,
And
but I didn't remember that was the circumstance. But
Why
no,
were you
Yeah.
looking at the other person?
I don't remember.
he
To learn the
said,
moves.
well, this is we were talking.
Well.
His story was his story that he was watching her feet because he couldn't watch me because he couldn't keep his mind on his dancing if he watched me. Now that was really that was slick, wasn't it? I was stupid. I believed him. And he proposed that night, and I said
That
yes.
same night?
What?
Wow.
That's interesting.
Same night.
Do you remember the proposal?
No, I don't specifically.
Are you guys really married?
No, I'm not sure about
I don't
that.
have a ring. I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
she lost her ring.
What about you? You remember when he proposed? Tell
Yeah.
us about that.
We were up top in one of the hills around here, overlooking the
Wasn't it Balboa Park overlooking downtown?
yeah, up there, yeah. Overlooking downtown, the lights and everything, and had the radio going, soft music, and we talked, and proposed, and I said yes.
Do you remember what he said?
He said, I guess he just said, really wanted to marry me or something. It took him that long being without me to realize that he really wanted to marry me.
I
and spend the
remember
rest
that
of his life with me. That's what
Do you remember that, Dad?
I remember same time as the Charger. I was walking with Dick Greer and a couple of the guys from one building to another, and I was complaining to Dick how I missed you or something, and we talked about that, and that's about all I can remember.
You never told me that.
No, I may
Did
not
they
have.
tell you to quick grab me?
No, I don't think so. I don't remember if they probably
Somebody
were.
else
They didn't
grabbed
want to hear it. I
Beautiful
probably.
woman.
Well, she was the prettiest girl I'd ever seen. To be honest
Yeah,
with you.
I'm trying to get him to say that.
No, that's really true. I always remembered that, but I don't think I'd ever saw a prettier girl. She was not the glamorous,
and
type.
you can still say, and you still are.
And you still are.
Sparkle, sparkle.
So she wasn't the glamorous type, but
No, she was the girl next door type. Just.
Well, I know other guys
Flashy.
thought I was glamorous.
Oh, well, I didn't think of you that way.
Did you wear makeup back then? Did people wear
Um,
makeup a lot, or?
Not much, no.
lipstick.
I wore lipstick sometimes.
Well, you can tell that in that picture you've got.
No,
Yeah, she looks glamorous, yeah.
She's well, not glamorous. I don't think so. At least
How's
I
glamorous, Lisa?
You look glamorous.
All right, she was glamorous.
How's glamorous, guys? I was skinnier than this. I was 109 pounds. That's right, Jim, like that.
She was, no doubt about it.
And Dad, on the previous tape, you said something about you had like a premonition when you were younger that you would marry somebody from.
Oh, yeah. I really remember that. It may be a false memory, but I remember I was in high school. As I say, I had nerves. I didn't date or anything, but I always figured I'd get married, and I always daydreamed about it, and I wondered where she was. She had to be around someplace in the world, at that time. And I thought about Florida, and it turns out she probably was in Florida about that time.
Did you go to Florida?
No, I'd never been to Florida. No. I had never been to Florida until
It's funny, I never
after we were married.
even thought about getting married.
You never
No.
dreamed about that?
I never, I was too busy doing those things. I didn't think about getting married. I have all the time in the world. I remember Connie was in Hawaii, and she called me one day. I'll never forget this. I was thinking about this early. And she said, Carolyn, you're getting old. You better think about getting married.
How old were you?
I think I was 21 or 22. I said, getting married? I want to get married? She said, you better. You're getting old. She got married very young, so she said I was getting old. Get old and haggard.
So when you were dating Dad, did you ever think, oh yeah, I can marry him, or did you?
Well,
Or did it just happen?
I guess it's a no.
I don't know. I guess we were so busy and everything. We didn't. There's this other guy too wanted to marry me. There's two other guys that want to marry me.
Well, I didn't have such luck. I only had one chance.
I did start thinking about marriage because this other guy was, he owned a big parcel of land on top of Mount Helix.
Oh, uh-huh.
Yes, and he took me up there, and his parents lived up there also in a lot. Very nice parents, and he used to take me up there a lot with his parents, and then we'd sit and watch TV with him, and he took me over and showed me the lot that, you know, that he wanted to build a big house on, and hopefully marry me and everything, you know. And I decided I didn't want to.
Was he the one with the dog? You liked the dog?
No, that was the one he wanted to marry too, but he was. I only went with him because he had a car to take me around places.
Why'd you go
I
with
liked
me?
this dog. I liked
You
this
liked the
dog.
dog,
Yeah.
Did you tell me that you weren't that thrilled with Dad at first?
Yeah, when I first went out with him, the first date, he talked so
Here goes
much.
the ego.
He talked so much, I couldn't get a word in edgewise. And I thought to myself, this isn't going to work. I can't talk at all. He talks all the time. And then he asked me out the next Saturday night, and I didn't have a date, you know, with anybody. I said, okay, and things quieted down a little bit.
I think I was probably nervous. I wasn't used to dating all that much anyway.
Yeah.
I did date a couple gals, but not very much.
So when he asked you to marry him, did he have a ring for you already, or did you?
No, he did not.
I wouldn't dare do it without her permission to buy a ring.
We were broken up,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
so he probably didn't know whether I would, you know.
Well, I don't think I would have known enough to buy a ring. I think we went down and bought engagement rings and wedding rings together, didn't we? I can't remember
I
that.
can't remember that either.
How long were you dating before you proposed?
Oh, wow. Year and a half, I always thought.
I didn't think it was that long.
I thought it was, but I may be
I
wrong.
don't remember that either.
Another thing I remember about it is that
Time flies.
we got married in February, but I thought I went home for Christmas. Wasn't that the Christmas before?
Yeah, the
And-
Christmas before you
And I
went.
remember at that time I was undecided whether I wanted to get married.
At all? Or just
No,
her?
I didn't, I says, how do you know if this is the right gal? You know, how do you know? I don't really understand it. And so when I went home, I talked to the folks about it, and they were clever enough not to say anything one way or the other. But that doesn't make sense because we
Shut up, Jim.
we had to commit
Talk about
before
what Jim
before
asked me.
that time. Maybe it was after the fact. I don't know. I just remember doing it.
Yeah.
I was real unsure, I guess, because I didn't know quite. I don't know. I've never been married before. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. Never even dated much. I didn't know what to do.
Huh. So it's kind of like a spontaneous thing almost. You were broken up and you missed her, and so you decided to ask her to marry you.
Well, I think that's when I first realized that I wanted her. You know, when we broke up, because I was broken up. That was really the first time and only time I've ever been felt that way. I remember that's why I was talking to these friends of mine, because I had nobody else to talk to, I guess. And they didn't want to hear that. Nobody gave me any help. I talked to my parents, and they didn't give me any help. But the thing that bothered me about that, if I was home for Christmas and came back and then decided I did want to get married, we got married in February. We couldn't have had that close to, you know, you had to have a little more notice. Weddings were easier to do then, but not that
So
much.
maybe you'd already asked her, now you're
Maybe
thinking
so.
maybe I
Maybe
shouldn't
so.
have done that.
I don't think that
No,
was the case.
we went together. You know, we after you asked me, we got married. As soon the reason we got married in February because we wanted to wait till the snow came so it was skiing. That's why we waited.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that long by the time you asked me and time got married.
Matter of a few months.
Yeah, I think so.
Where'd you get married? You were married on February
11th,
11th.
St. Bridget's.
And that's the church you went to. And Mom didn't go to church.
Right down here?
That's right. That's right down here.
What was your wedding like? Do you remember planning the wedding, or did it just, you just kind of?
It wasn't a very big wedding.
There was probably 20 people there.
Yeah, we planned it.
Maybe.
Yeah, we had a reception in our little. We had an apartment. We got an apartment right on the boardwalk on Cohasset Court, down past the plunge. And,
Do you remember the address? Is it still there? Or is it?
It's still there.
Yeah.
Well, they remodeled the place, the inside. Every time I ride my bike back there, I look through the window and I see the ironing board like we have in the back of the bedroom. It's that wall. I always remember that because we had that in the original apartment. But it's still there.
Do you remember the address? Off the top of your head?
It's
703?
either 8 or 703. Yeah.
I think 7 is the...
It was right on the boardwalk, and
Yeah.
it's right on
It
Cohasset
was a
Court.
great
It's right on
place.
the
Did you rent
the
or
north
did
side.
you?
We rented it. $85.
$85 a month.
Was that a lot back then or not?
That was a lot.
It was a lot.
I don't know.
That is a
That was
lot.
a lot, yeah.
But it was what a deal. I mean,
Yeah, it was
gee.
really
Yeah.
nice. All furnished and everything.
In the summer, we bathing suits all the time.
Yeah.
You never took your bathing suit off. in
We had
summer.
Donnie, and we let him sleep, you know, when he took his nap, locked the door and had the intercom, and we'd be right outside on the beach there, you
On
know,
the
we could
sand,
hear. Yeah,
No, we didn't know
I remember that. You probably were working.
Yeah, yeah.
Down there with the neighbor ladies.
that. Only
That was neat. And then when he was 6 months old, they would ask us to leave because they didn't want children in the apartment. No children allowed.
Too bad.
Yeah, so we had to move
it worked
away
out
from
right.
the ocean.
Is that where you bought this place? The land and the house?
No, that was after we moved over here in Chalcedony. We rented a place over there. Carolyn twisted my arm into buying this lot.
Okay, is it Chalcedony or Chalcedony?
Chalcedony. I was Chalcedony is the way we
I
pronounced
think
it.
either, I spelled
I think-
just Sydney.
Pardon?
I pronounce it
Oh, dear.
just
Well,
Sydney.
okay, I'll buy it.
Either way, I think is
I've
correct.
heard it both ways.
So let's go back to your wedding.
All right.
Who your best man was Jerry.
No, Cy.
Cy.
He was in the Navy at the time.
Maya.
He happened to be in town.
Oh.
Come here.
And was Jerry in town? Did Jerry move here?
No, Jerry was still living with
Oh,
my
he was
parents
still
back.
young.
He was a
there
little
because
boy.
he was-
Yeah.
Well, he was 20. Well, because I was 27.
Oh, he was
He was,
20?
no, excuse me, I'm sorry.
15 years
Lying.
difference.
12, he was 12.
Yeah, I remember because they came, you know, to see us one time.
You were 27?
Yeah.
And how old were you when you got married? 25?
24, wasn't he?
24?
And they didn't come out for the wedding?
No.
So was Cy was there, and who was there on your side?
Marilyn Patterson.
Who was your maid of honor? Where is she now?
She lives right here in Pacifica.
Does she still live here?
I guess as far as I know, she
She lives in L.A. and then
She lived in L.A.
he still her husband still has an office down here at Cass Street right around
Oh,
the
he's the
corner.
one that,
Patterson.
The lawyer.
Yeah, I don't know if he ever uses it or not. I didn't look into it there.
You lost touch with her?
Well, when he saw his office down there, then I looked in the phone book, got a number, called her, and invited him over for dinner, and they came
Is
over
it-
for dinner,
Is it Cass Street?
and, yeah, on Cass Street.
Yeah, I've seen that place.
Yeah.
That at Roger Beck's. And then they came over for dinner. We had a real nice time, and then they said they belong to the yacht club down there because they have a boat, and they invited us down there for, you know, dinner that night because they were having a yacht club dinner or something. So we went down there, and they said they were going to call us. It was their turn to have us over, and never heard from again. And that was,
No, we never hit it off real well at that time, I don't think.
well, I thought I did. I enjoyed seeing Marilyn and Roger.
Yeah.
Her little girl is, I think that might have something to do with it too. She had 2 daughters and a son. Cheryl was the same age as Donnie, and they used to come down here all the time. We'd go up there and everything, and kids would play together. And she and Donnie were riding bikes out here one day in the street, and he was on the street side of the block, and she was on the sidewalk, and she was on the inner side, and she cut in front of him and cut over.
Mm-hmm.
And cut in front of him, and he went down on his face and broke his tooth in half. She was one
So
of
I got that false tooth.
yeah, he had trouble with that tooth the rest of his life. Anyway, she passed away. She had ovarian cancer.
The daughter or the daughter?
Cheryl, the daughter. Yeah, when she was just 26, I guess it was. And that was real sad. And I don't know, I kind of lost touch with her after that.
Too sad to see you. And
Yeah,
later
it
on.
could have been that, you know, brought back memories of being here with her daughters. I thought maybe that might have something to do with it too. I don't know, might have. That's kind
I missed the first part. She was in the wedding?
She's a
of rough. The mother was,
Right.
yeah,
Your
maid of honor.
Oh, she was your maid of honor.
No bridesmaids or anything.
She's the one who still sends all the real estate type letters.
Oh, no, that's
Oh.
somebody else here.
So Connie and Dodie and everybody were in town. And
Yeah,
Stephen, so they
Connie was not in town.
were- Oh,
No, Dodie was there.
Yeah, Dodie.
Stephen, Guy. I can name everybody at both
We
my
only,
hands.
we only have about two or three pictures taken there.
yeah.
And there was one picture outside, and I don't remember seeing them in that picture, but
Seeing who?
Dodie and Stephen.
They were back in the, they were back in the church there.
But were they in the picture?
They were in the,
You
yeah, in
could
the
see
back
them? Oh, I
picture,
don't
yeah.
remember that.
Yeah, you could see,
There were some friends of ours that we bumped around with there. And so I don't think that, and then we had the reception back in this one-bedroom apartment on the beach. And,
big reception. We left, we didn't stay for the reception.
well, we just stayed for a while, and then we took off in the car.
Cy was in charge of
Yeah.
locking up and everything.
Yeah. Then he left and put his toilet paper in the bathroom or something when we got back.
No, he didn't do that. Everybody else did that. They tore up newspaper, crumbled it, and filled it with, in tub, and filled it with water, you know? So it'd be hard when we come back. And Cy, you know, was kind of against it, he said later, and then he locked up, and then the next day he thought about it might be combustible, so he came and cleaned it all out. Cy did this. He would be the one I think would do it. Yeah, he was conscientious.
I'm learning things I've forgotten too, I didn't know.
So your parents weren't at the wedding because
No.
they were back in.
They were back in Iowa.
Okay. And where'd you go for your honeymoon? You went skiing.
Sun Valley, Idaho. Well, with a stop at Las Vegas.
Did you gamble in Las Vegas? Do you remember where you stayed?
I don't.
Sands, the Sands.
Sands.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything about what we gambled there. I think we just stayed there one night, and then we drove on to Sun Valley, skied.
We stopped to see Shirley in Salt Lake City.
Did we? Oh, we did, didn't we?
Yeah, a friend of mine had. And this is a friend that used to drive me to the Revelers Club. He'd drive me there, and then he'd take me home. And she wasn't. You had to be accepted, and this is going back into the Revelers Club. You know, you had to send a picture in why you want to join. And kind of snooty, you know. And they wouldn't accept her.
Yeah, he goes by.
And I got really mad. They accepted me, not her. And I got really mad, and I went down and told them. I said, well, you know, if you people are too snooty to have her in that, I guess you don't want me either. So I said, I'm resigning from this club, you know. And I walked out, and they called me back and said, we've been considered. We'll take her into the club. Anyway, that was a bad thing to do, I guess, because she got pregnant by one of the people. I always felt guilty about that. So she had a baby illegally. He took off, you know, she never found him anymore. And anyway, she moved to Salt Lake to have her baby. You know, it was really sad, all by herself. And she lived in a little bitty room in back of somebody's house, you know. And she did house cleaning for them and took care of, I guess, one of their little kids or something when she had her baby there. And all by herself, you know, where nobody knew her.
Yeah.
So we stopped to see her. It was really sad, I think.
Do you keep touch with her? In touch with her?
Not anymore, Ken. I don't know where she is. She did send me a letter, you know, years ago that she'd gotten married to this guy named Guy Davis, who was a fisherman. Same as my stepfather, Guy, isn't that unusual?
Yeah.
And Jody had gotten in a lot of trouble, into drugs and everything, and I don't know what all happened to her. A couple times I tried to trace her, couldn't, you know, sent a letter and it was returned. So Dad's going to talk here. I'm going on again.
That's all right.
No, that's
Thank
good.
you, Jim.
You be quiet.
I ran out. I think.
Maya, you stay in here.
So you were working at Sears when you got married? Okay. So you went on your honeymoon.
I remember picking her up at Sears. I remember something.
Yeah.
Picking her up from work?
Yeah, I remember picking her up for work. She comes out all dressed up, high heels and everything. The prettiest girl in town.
Didn't do that every night, though.
No, I know. I just remember doing it.
You had one car? Oh, obviously, you had one
Well,
car.
this is before I married.
You were married, we had one car.
Yeah, that's true.
Who got
Oh.
the car? Who got to take the car?
Well, wait a minute.
No, you
After I had Dottie, then,
took the car, I think. No, you took the car and I took a bus. Because I could, you couldn't.
then I went down and picked you up and brought you home.
I don't remember.
Yeah, we did.
Yes, I do remember
Yeah.
you picking me
Yeah.
up for work.
Okay.
Come on, the viewer's gotta be
As
snappy.
they say on TV, black time or?
So you, okay, so,
That time.
all right, you're married now, and then
Yes,
Donnie came along.
Yes, he did.
How many years after you're married?
How
How
many
many
years?
months? I should say how many months after you're married.
We were married in February, and he came along in February.
So just figure that out.
And he was
February
playing.
11th, and he was born on February 18th. Now, make something of that.
Safe,
You're
yeah.
safe.
More than his parents.
Just barely.
More than his parents.
Yeah, that's the question. Was he planned? You wanted to have kids right away?
No, not really.
No, we wanted to work, I wanted to work for a couple more years to get enough money to buy a house. Not, well, that, and in fact, that I had profit sharing. I had to, Maya,
Jim will take care of it.
don't hit her, Jim. No karate.
Careful.
Zach's into karate.
Sarah thought she'd be taking care of the dog.
But when I got pregnant, see, I was working in the public eye. At that time, you couldn't be pregnant and be in the public eye. It was a
Working?
sin. Yes. You know, you couldn't be big and big pregnant. And so they forced me to quit. That you know, nowadays, you know,
Yeah.
geez.
You would
So I-
otherwise you were ready to keep working?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I was going to work until we had enough money, you know, to get a house and have start children and everything. And they made me quit, and I lost quite a bit of money in my profit share. I don't remember how much it was, but they only gave me what I put in, not what they put in, and that was really nasty.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah, and I couldn't
Remember
do
how
anything
you-
about it. I tried to hide the pregnancy as long as I could, you know. But I kept going out and throwing up in the bathroom. So they finally asked me, "You all right?" I said, "Are you pregnant?" That was it. I had to quit.
So Donnie was born.
So I was
Do you
born.
remember the day he was born, Dad?
Not exactly, no. But I do, the thing I remember about it was that I notified my parents by telegram. I guess that's the way we did things in those days. And I remember I said, "He's the most beautiful baby I ever saw," or something like that. And looking back on it, I'm not convinced that was the case.
Probably the only baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember that day?
Oh, yeah. We were, let's see, he was almost 2 weeks past due time, and so he was going to break the water, so I had to make an appointment to go into the office at 9 in the morning, and then he broke the waters, and then I was supposed to go to the hospital, and then when he did that, I was so scared.
I don't know if she'll go with me or what.
She out there?
Sure here.
Oh, just ignore her.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you. So, you know,
Tease.
he said, "Now take your time, you know, everything's all right." So I got in the car, and we were so scared. We were so, you don't remember all that? We were so nervous. I thought I was going to have him in the car before I got to the hospital, you know, and hurry, 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 hurry. We were speeding down the freeway at 55 miles an hour.